Ladies and gentlemen, this is the interview portion of the pregame of the homecoming festivities, and I'm here with Mr. B.J. Schmalbach, trusted librarian, but that's not what he's doing tonight. Tonight, sports fans, Mr. Schmalbach is playing a much different role. Mr. Schmalbach, you care to tell us what's going on tonight and why you're here?
Well, sure. I'm here to do one of my favorite things each year at homecoming, which is to drive one of the cars in the parade as we go from Eisenhower down to the stadium.
Mr. Schmalbach, when did you get involved with driving cars?
Well, it started out with the first year that I was on staff. I was sponsoring the class of 2004, so we were here with them as a freshman, but we were borrowing cars from some of the local dealers back then, and I asked Mr. Payon if I could drive one of the convertibles. Nowadays, I borrow Mrs. Deneno, our gifted coordinator's Chrysler convertible to drive in the parade, but I love driving cars, and any excuse to drive a nice convertible is fine by me. And of course, I like to be involved in homecoming in every way, shape, and form possible because I'm such a traditional guy. I love the fact that we still start at Eisenhower, even though it hasn't been the high school in 30-some years. It's the kind of stuff that I like, so here I am.
Now, Mr. Schmalbach, as a former class sponsor, I have to ask you this. I notice as I look around the parking lot, as we look around, we don't see any floats. And I know that some of the traditionalists, when we didn't do floats a few years ago, were kind of upset by the lack of tradition. What do you think about, from your perspective as a former class sponsor, yay floats or nay?
I was always of two minds. Part of me, that traditionalist part, definitely liked the fact that we had the floats and whatnot. But what I saw being on the other side of the desk was that we spent an awful lot of money that really, the classes only have a pretty limited amount of money to begin with. We were spending money on something that was ended up getting thrown away really as soon as we rolled off the track down at Roosevelt. We went right up to the dumpster and everything went into the dumpster. So there was like a good $500 worth of stuff trashed. So what we decided was, how can we have that kind of spirit that we had, but maybe in a little bit more cost-effective way? That's when we decided to go with the banner competition, which, we still had a lot of people participated in it when we went to that. And while, we lose a little bit of the float thing, it was definitely a lot easier to do, a lot less money. And, from a class sponsor point of view, it was improved. And really, we didn't lose much in terms. We still had people involved in the parade.
and gentlemen, welcome once again to historic Eisenhower Middle School, the place where dreams are born. I'm Dave Fazzini, and along with Mark Kolodinsky, we are here once again to experience the pomp, the pageantry, the circumstance, and the historic beauty of homecoming, a time-honored tradition in which Norristonian graduates come home like the swallows of Capistrano, back to where they came from. So Mark, swallows aside, pomp, pageantry, circumstance, potential unlikely winners tonight of the male beauty pageant. What's going to happen on the field? Sheldon Mayer's been the Norristown Times-Herald Offensive Player of the Week for 2 weeks straight. This is unprecedented. And sports editor Dennis Way remarked of the unprecedented nature of Mayer's achievement. So what do you think's going on tonight for the Eagles, and what about their Cheltenham Panther opponents?
Well, obviously, it's going to be an outstanding atmosphere because of homecoming. You know the fans will be out in full force. It'll be an outstanding atmosphere. And Cheltenham, 1-2 on the year. Probably a team Norristown should beat. So, I mean, we know about Sheldon Mayer and his 260 yards last year and 5 touchdowns. I mean, a performance that he may not repeat for the rest of his life. And coming off that huge win, Cheltenham coming off of a devastating blowout loss on the losing end, 35-6 against Quakertown. So, Norristown's riding high right now. Cheltenham, not so much. So I look for Sheldon Mayer to have another huge game in what's going to be an outstanding atmosphere.
Mark, I agree with that. And to that, to Sheldon Mayer, I would add that the Norristown defense, once a possible weakness, has now become a decided strength. Norristown rides and lives and dies on the aggressive play of their front four. And with players like Terrence Edwards, Leo Colazzo, Marcus Robbins, those guys are outstanding. They get after the quarterback, and they do something that Norristown defenses historically have not done. They stop the run and take a fierce pride in doing so. So tonight, I look for a run-stuffing effort from the front four, assisted by the linebackers, and all-star cornerback Anthony Roby. Look for him to have another big game tonight.
Yeah, and that defense that you're talking about, allowing just around 13 points per game, that's excellent. That's a great number. If they can keep that up, they're going to win a lot of games. And then, of course, you force teams to go to the pass, and then, of course, with that offense that the Eagles have, they force opposing offenses to pass a lot because they're always trailing. And then if the run doesn't work, another reason they have to pass. And then you have players like Milo Hill coming up with an interception every game as he leads the team with 3 interceptions. You mentioned Anthony Roby. We know about his speed and all the dangerous things he could do on defense. So, yeah, really when the front four plays like they're playing right now, it makes everything easier for the defense, and it makes all the playmakers, gives them chances to make plays.
Now, Mark, here's a subject which I know we're going to disagree about. Last week, a few weeks ago, we saw Coach E.J. Smith implement some plays from the Wildcat formation, in which he put Anthony Roby out there and made him make plays in space. While I agree with the idea that you have somebody with 4.3 speed like Anthony Roby, a direct snap to him, you're getting him the ball in space, I don't agree with the idea that you need trick plays in order to win. What are your thoughts about the Wildcat and its possible implementation tonight?
Well, I love it. I mean, you can't rely on it. You can't make it the basis of your offense. But I would love to see, I don't know, anywhere between like 5 and 10 snaps of it. Put Roby back there. Snap the ball to Sheldon Mayer. I mean, and especially with a guy like Shannon Mayer who you can split out wide, and he's still dangerous because he can run a little bit. I mean, especially with a guy like Ant Roby who is one of your best players. He ran the 40-yard dash in 4.35 seconds. Going to Temple to play cornerback next year, ranked as one of the top 100 corners in the nation. And with the passing game the way it is for the Eagles, because they rely heavily on the run, it's hard for them to use Ant Roby a lot. So I think the Wildcat is a perfect way to do that.
You mentioned Shannon Mayer. And trick offenses or gimmicks or even legitimate uses of the Wildcat to get good players the ball in open space. That aside, Shannon Mayer, the stalwart standout sophomore quarterback, has been having an excellent season. I don't think either of us could have anticipated just how good this kid is. What do you think about his prospects tonight, and what do you think about his prospects down the road as he continues to develop?
I love Shannon Mayer. I love his game. I mean, we saw a preview last year when he filled in for James Ramsey, who was injured, and he looked kind of bad at making decisions, maybe not ready with the experience to be a leader and be a catalyst for the offense. But that seems like the distant past now because he has 5 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions on the year. That's outstanding, and it just shows that he's a leader. He's a catalyst for the offense. He's not making any mistakes. He runs the ball extremely well. That's something defenses have to account for. And I mean, to think that he's only a sophomore is incredible.
He is dangerous, and he's definitely one of the keys tonight if the Eagles are going to beat Cheltenham. The key for the Eagles to win, just to recap, the defense has to stay strong, has to stay aggressive. Larry Smith's got to get after the quarterback and pressure him into some bad decisions. Sheldon Mayer, if he has another game like he had the last two weeks, there is absolutely no chance that Cheltenham wins this game. O-line's got to play well. And Anthony Roby, look for a couple picks tonight. And like we talked about before, I want to see a long pick 6 from Roby, and I think we're going to see a few before this year's over.
Yeah, I have no doubts that we will. And, of course, we mentioned what Milo Hill's been doing, getting those 3 interceptions. Anthony Roby is going to be right there with them. And, I mean, what a dynamic player. And there's so many of them on this Eagles team. I mean, they have so many different players they can give the ball to. It's just ridiculous. And that makes this offense extremely fun to watch. I mean, Roby, Boyd, Hill, Mayer, Denolfi. I mean, there's just a ton of options out there. And if you like to see a lot of points, you'll probably see that from the Eagles tonight.
Mark, I agree with all of that. And this homecoming game, we could not ask for better weather. So for me and Mark, this has been the pregame show. We'll be back down at Roosevelt Field with some stats and the pregame. We'll see you in a few.